5 ways to remember what you learn more clearly. Despite the fact that it would be great to read something just once or twice and then retain it for the rest of our lives, most of what we learn simply slips our minds. In fact, studies have found that if new information is not applied within an hour, the majority of people would have forgotten roughly 50% of what they learned. In a week goes by without that information being used, up to 90% of it might be lost. After 24 hours, this will be 70%. More than just reading a textbook or idly paying attention to our teachers is required if we want our learning to stick. Of course, reading and listening will always be part of learning, but in our minds, we'll be far more likely to remember it in the long run. In light of this, here are tips to help you maximize the time you spend studying. Number 1. Employ visual aids. More sensory input during the learning process will help you remember what you learn. And research demonstrates that visuals in particular can make it easier for us to retain information. In one study, researchers discovered that pupils who remembered word groupings through visual associations had considerably higher recall than those who just repeated the words repeatedly. The visual learning tools like instructional films, documentaries, infographics, photographs, maps, and charts to help you learn effectively whenever you can. Visuals have been demonstrated to boost understanding and message transmissions. Number 2. Find demonstrations. Demonstrations can be incredibly helpful because you need to fully understand the subject in order to retain what you've learned. Demonstrations assist you understand an idea by illuminating how something works, as opposed to merely reading or listening to an explanation. Find an instructor or even a friend or relative who is an expert in the field and can give you a demonstration if you're trying to learn a certain technical talent, whether it's cooking, web design, or a photography. You might also look for instructional films that show what you're attempting to learn if this isn't possible. Number 3. Participate in discussions in groups. Discussing what you've learned is crucial since it makes you actively analyze the information, whether you do it right away or a few days later. Additionally, studies demonstrate that group conversations can raise student engagement, which enhances long-term retention. In order to review the content you've learned, obtain new views, and clear up any potential misunderstandings, try to take part in group discussions whenever you can. Group conversation can still place through online forums or web conference services if you aren't studying in a traditional environment and can't discuss your learning with peers in person. Number 4. Use it your daily life. Because practice builds new neural connections in the brain, it is crucial to put your learning into practice if you want to keep it in your memory. These pathways are strengthened each time you practice a new ability or new information in a practical way, making it less and less likely that you will forget what you've learned. For instance, if you're learning a new knowledge, you could get some practice by speaking with native speakers, reading picture books, or watching foreign movies. If you're trying to photography, try to make your camera outside every day to put the tips read about into practice. Number 5. Seek out possibilities to teach others. You generally wouldn't think about teaching people about subject unless you were an authority on it. Yet research indicates that teaching others about a subject is the most effective method to learn it yourself. One study in particular indicated that students were better at selecting and organizing the most crucial information and later remembered it more precisely when they believe they would have to teach the content they were learning to someone else. In light of this, you might want to think about seeking for a tutor or offering to help you fellow students with their assignments if you truly want your learning to stick. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel